5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, welcome to Junior Hockey Advisor. It is Sunday night. It's time to talk hockey. It's time to talk about the transition from 16 to 18, 18 to juniors, juniors to college, and everything else we talk about. I'm Jeff Colson. We've been doing this for several years now. Our audience is growing like crazy. I appreciate everybody being on and taking some time. Sunday nights are for you. We do interviews. We do other discussions during the week. And we do webinars. We do different things for you to teach you about the process. I am not an advisor. I've been doing this for 35 years as a coach, as a general manager, as a junior owner of several different junior teams at different levels. Love what I do. I've been a parent. I've actually walked through that side. I've been an NCAA coach. And of course, I've been a youth coach at many, many, many different levels. I think I've actually certified at every single level, level 5 certified coach. This is what I love to do. This is what I love to talk about. I currently work for a North American Hockey League team, and I am the director of player development. So I'm involved on a daily basis in this. So if you're new to this, your job is to interact. If you can, you don't have to. We'd love you to spend a little time telling us about who you are, where you're watching from, and maybe even tell us a little bit or ask us a few questions. Love to get some questions going. So if you're ready, let's jump in and have some fun. It's gonna be a good night. So one of the things I promised tonight we would talk about. Well, first of all, thoughts and prayers out for 9/11. You know, we and my family, 9/11's bittersweet. My daughter was born on 9/11. So this happened when she was 5, turning 6, the actual event. So we try to do as much as we can in our family to make her day enjoyable, even though it was a national tragedy and a day of memory and a day of prayer. We try to do something to make her feel good. So I actually worked in the World Trade Center in the early 2000s, about a year before the event. I didn't work there. I spent a lot of time there, up to a month at a time, because I was with Morgan Stanley. So I'd come in, do some leadership training, and then go back out, come back in, do a 2-week course on management or something like that, and then leave again. So very familiar with the World Trade Center, the whole complex, the old complex. And fortunately for me, the 2,500 people from Morgan Stanley, of which I knew a few. I didn't know all, of course, I didn't know all of 2,000. All were able to get out of the building except for the head of security that actually took the time to make sure everybody was out of the building. And so Morgan Stanley was very, very fortunate. And so thoughts and prayers with that. That's a tough day. And I'm sure many, many, many of you out there have your own recollections of the day, or people that you know that were involved, or it seems like we're 2 degrees or 3 degrees separated from just about everybody in the hockey world, or 9/11. So enough with that said, let's move on. I talked about the College Hockey Inc. We're going to get to that a little bit later. And the College Hockey Inc. is a website. If you haven't been to College Hockey Inc., take the time to jump on. It is unbelievable. It's a great, great tool. You want to know about NCAA rules? Go there. You want to know about how many teams there are? Go there. You want to know about the latest as far as the recruiting stats? Go there, but know that some of the things are a little bit slanted. Great reporting, great information, but there's, like I say a lot of times on here, always know the source of your information. Information on hockey, especially, I guess it's pretty much across the board. There's always going to be a bias. We see this in news media all the time. When you get on here, I believe that I'm the only non-advisor that's reporting on junior hockey information right now online. What I mean that is if somebody's calling themselves a junior hockey news source, or a junior hockey site to get information on junior hockey and how to participate in junior hockey, almost everybody, if not everybody else besides me right now, is an advisor. So what does that do? Well, it biases them towards whatever they want. They're trying to collect names for a business. We don't do that. We do have some paid processes, not the kind of money that you throw around for advisors, but we do have courses that cost money. Those are on our website. You can go look at those at any time. I do individual phone calls with people for a very short period of time to help them transition. That's with or without an advisor. People that work with advisors, it's probably 60-40 people that work with advisors calling me to just triangulate the information, make sure they're on the right path. And it's usually when there's a pivotal piece of information they want to answer on. Listen, if you're out there, please tell me where you're at. Please tell me where you're watching from, I should say, who you are. And if you could, Junior Hockey Advisor, the discussion group is a great place. I actually have that up right here. That's a great place to put your comments. I know some of you use the Junior Hockey main page, Junior Hockey Advisor main page. We're also on YouTube. Go to the YouTube page, like and follow us there. Go to the discussion group, join it. It's a great group. I don't really comment that much on the page. And the reason I don't is because I love the fact that all of you, there's 7,500 of you on that group now. And it just amazes me. When we started this, there was me, there was two of my hockey teammates from back when I was on the United States Marine Corps hockey team. And there was a gentleman, a goalie dad out of Colorado, who is still part of our group. And his name is Dave. And there was the four of us. And that's what we started with. We had four people. And the group has grown now to the size it is. And besides that group, we've got, I believe, 10,000 over on the page itself, not the discussion group. We are really struggling to grow that YouTube page, though. It's not my demographic, as you can see. I'm not 22, 23 in that creator phase. And, I don't run around, making creative videos. I pretty much are straight to the point videos. So help me out there if you can. Get on our YouTube page. We put up a lot of information. Oh, folks, we got some great more interviews coming up. We put up, 3 in the last 2 weeks. We put up Adam Phillips. Adam Phillips is a former Null coach. He's a former NCAA Division III coach, and he's now working as an assistant coach in Muskegon. He's doing a wonderful job, but we interviewed him for an hour. We haven't cut that into an 8-minute piece yet. We will, but it's phenomenal. And the reason why I think his interview is so great is you can see the genuine concern and care for players. You can feel it as you're talking to them. The other gentleman we have, same thing. We had Dan Wildfong on. He's the head coach and general manager of the Lone Star Brahmas. I work with Dan on a daily basis, but usually the interviews are cookie cutter. How's your team look? How's things going to look in the future? How do you see the season going? We didn't go there. We went with these gentlemen into how did you get here? What do you see when you're looking at players? What are you looking for? What do you think about the landscape of hockey right now? And some of the answers they gave were phenomenal. So Dan's interview, we have already cut that into 8 minutes with Dan. We take the hour. We try to do the highlights of the interview. Let's see, who else do we have this? The latest one we just published is just phenomenal. We did, see, I've interviewed so many people, I got to remember. Jason Deskins, Youngstown Phantoms. Interesting, though, and here's why this hockey world is so, it's so complex and it's so comforting at the same time. It's nurturing, it's small, but complex. And what I mean by that is he has been a U15 fixture, U16, U15 fixture in the Detroit market for years. He's probably late 30s, early 40s. He's been doing this for, I think he said 17, 18 years now as a coach, behind the bench coach. But at the same time, he's been building a resume to be a USHL general manager. Started out as a USHL scout, assistant general manager, associate general manager. Now he is he's co-directing the general manager, co-GMing the team in Youngstown now, along with co-directing or splitting the job with the player operations, vice president of player operations. You can see the passion, though. You talk to these guys, and hopefully what you'll get out of this is you'll get that passion. You'll see how close though these people are to the rest of the hockey world. And I don't think people always understand that the USHL people are in the buildings all the time. North American Hockey League people in the buildings all the time. Scouts, general manager, coaches. Most wear dual hats. Even if they're full-time with the team, they're still involved with coaching at some level. So it's good to know that. And I really highly recommend you grab these on YouTube. Watch these interviews. We're going to be clicking the button in the next few days after I get back from Blaine from the showcase, and we'll turn on the podcasting feature so you can just listen to them in the car on the podcast. But hang in there, that's coming. The next interview we have is Michael Hermbrodt is coming up. That one has already been recorded. We'll release that very soon. Michael is an ACHA coach for a program, Illinois State, that has D1, D2, and D3. He's been pivotal in the program, been there about 10 years. I know the man well. That's not why I want you to listen to him. I want you to listen to him because of the talking about the opportunities, talking about the differences, talking about the commitment, and dispelling a lot of myth and mystery that surrounds ACHA hockey. That's the club level. D1, D2, which is very minimal, D3, and then ACHA has D1, D2, D3 just inside of there. But getting into club hockey and understanding that is extremely important because there's opportunities there that might not be right for you, or they might be right up your alley. So I really highly recommend it. Next week, we will be interviewing several more people. We've got a D1 coach we're going to be interviewing. I'm going to keep that name under close to my vest until it actually happens. And we're going to be bringing on Brian Burke from Victory Honda, and we'll have him on talking about the process. Once again, here's a gentleman that's been doing this forever. He's been a college coach for a long time, in and out of 2 different programs, and he runs the Victory Honda program overall. And if you don't know this already, Bell Tire, Victory Honda out of the Detroit market, always on top as far as statistics. May not always win the national titles, but for statistically producing product to the next level, those programs are always on the top of the list. And you wouldn't think that at first blush. You would think it was some of the other U18 programs, but historically they do an excellent job of putting people up to the same level, next level. And hopefully over the course of the year, we'll get all these different programs on, get them interviewed so you can enjoy them. Let's add a couple people, then we're going to talk about we're going to talk about College Hockey Inc. and make sure. We see Brock coming on. Brock's got a question. I'll get to your questions a little bit later after we talk College Hockey Inc. Boy, we got lots of questions already lined up. Usually we got a lot of people just saying hi. Today it's hey, Charlie from Massapequa. Good to see you on there. Ron from Minnesota's on. There's a question there from Ron. We'll get to the questions in a little bit. Sean's on from Lowell. Very good to see. Dave's on from Colorado Springs. Good to see you, Dave. Or good to see your name up on the board, Dave. Hopefully it's good for you to see me. Todd's on from Chicago, suburb of Illinois, but U16 goalies playing out of state. We've got Rio Rancho, New Mexico on. That might be a first. Rio Rancho, interesting to see that on there. We've got Matt from Johnstown. Good to see you, Matt. Very good coach. He taught my son, who is now 9. I'm not sure which one of the people we were talking about, but probably Jason. That's good to see. Matt, we'll get to your comments in a little bit here. Tom's on from Maryland. Jacob's on from somewhere just says hello. And then we've got Dave on from Detroit. So we've got, that's a taste of people. And then we've got over here on the other board, we've got Anthony from Colorado Springs. We've got Denise coming on. Oh, Denise is the Rio Rancho one. Okay, very good. And then Jared. Hey, Jared, good to see you. So we got a little college hockey coaches coming on too. Jared's coming on from Angola, Indiana. So we got a great group on tonight. Let's get into this College Hockey Inc. I'm excited to talk about this. There's 2 articles that have come out from College Hockey Inc. And if you don't know what College Hockey Inc. is, I'll back you up. Let's go back into the Junior Hockey Advisor time machine, and I would ask you to go back and watch the What is USA Hockey, or how does USA Hockey work. There's a couple of videos I have out on there. College Hockey Inc. is a conduit from the NHL going through USA Hockey to what it is on what you see on online. What do I mean by that? This goes way back. Many of you heard this story before, but this whole ADM model we have, a lot of the product we see from USA Hockey really wasn't in the plans. This wasn't in the mix. It wasn't maybe a pie in the sky dreams. We'd like to do this. We'd like to do that. But none of this stuff was going to happen. KHL comes around. The Russian Pro League, which is supposed to rival the NHL. It doesn't, but it's still a really good brand of hockey. The KHL comes into play. KHL starts pulling and drawing all the prospects out of not only Western Europe, but it also, Eastern Europe, but it also starts pulling out, a lot of the Russian product, okay? So at the time, the NHL was heavily invested into Eastern Europe and into Russia as far as development money. And that could be camps, clinics, all-stars for the leagues, supporting junior leagues, supporting U17 teams, U20 teams, U20 leagues. All this money, though, from the NHL was going that way. Well, the KHL comes along, USA Hockey, the NHL said, enough of that. We're not going to spend money in a market where, we're going to get zero bang for our buck. So they pulled that money back and they went to USA Hockey and they said, USA Hockey, give us a plan. Give us a plan and we will give you this lump sum here to develop players. And USA Hockey really, and I hate to say this, up until the ADM, there was no plan. Now you can argue, and I often am critical of the ADM model and poke holes in it, but it's a plan. It's a direction. It's something we're working on. Well, what that $8 million has given you is, some of it's bureaucratic. We've now got these ADM managers that go around and go, rah, 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 ADM. I don't see much value in that, but what it did give us is it gave us a lump sum of money to put towards our national development program, which is a phenomenal program. Now, it existed before and it was already ramping up, but now there's a little bit more of a coffer of cash for that. The other thing it's done is it's put a lot of money into our women's program. That's great. One of the other things it's put in money into is this College Hockey Inc. It's a website, standalone, and it looks like it's an NCAA thing, but this money actually comes from the NHL to explain the difference on why NCAA Division I hockey is important. So you go to this website, and we're going to explore it in a second here. What it does is it gives you a lot of information, but it's not coming from just USA Hockey. That's a conduit. USA Hockey is a pass-through. The NHL wasn't going to give money straight out and do this site on their own. That money passes through USA Hockey, and USA Hockey from the grant from the NHL actually does it. So where can you get this information? I've got videos on this. Obviously, I said that you can go to YouTube. You can just go to Junior Hockey Advisor, pull these videos up and watch them. But you can also go online and just pull up the financials for USA Hockey, and you can read that yourself, and you can glean all this information yourself. I think I do a pretty good job of giving you the overall, but if you're one of those detail-oriented people and you want to know where your USA Hockey buck goes, pull that up. I think you'd be very interested. I think the video I do does a great job because it shows you where your insurance money goes. It shows you where the development money goes, and it's not picking apart USA Hockey. It's not saying it's a bad thing, but you really got to know what kind of business and who the people are in the structure and the infrastructure of the organization, and it really makes a difference on how you kind of look at things. So with that said, let's jump into this a little bit. I'm going to change my screen over here. I'm going to actually grab that screen, and we're going to look at this a little bit. So here's College Hockey Inc. And the article back on June 1st, 2021 was Youth Hockey Players in Michigan, There Is No Wrong Path. Now, I'm not going to read all this to you, but basically the article says, oh, there's 10 paths for Michigan players. Look at all these players and look at all the different paths they've taken. And they've played high school, and some of them go to Europe, and some of them play juniors. Let's dispel the myth right away. There is not 10 paths, okay? They studied, and they talk about it right here, 156 players is what they looked at, and they looked at them from 2018 to 2021, and these are Division I commits. Everything in this report is factual. I have no problem with the facts they're giving you. However, read the information and change the slant a little bit, and you get a different perspective on this, okay? First of all, it says the age of commitment is 18.6, reinforcing the importance of patience for aspiring NCAA Division I players. Okay, the average age of commitment is changing across the board, and the patience level is changing because the rules have also changed. You know, players cannot be contacted until their junior year now. It used to be you saw commitments. We were getting players committed at 12 and 13 years old at one point. Those days are gone because of the new NCAA rules. It also says NCAA division players from Michigan are playing U18, which is very true, high school, which is true, prep or junior hockey at age 17 and still have an opportunity to play Division I. Okay, we're going to break that down a little bit, but here's the other one. Michigan U18, 37% of the commitments, and high school, 24% hockey are both viable and proven routes to NCAA Division I hockey. Yes and no. Okay, this is where it gets a little complex. So of 156 players, what they're saying is that 24% of those players that played high school hockey committed. Okay, now here's a perfect example. The player that they've got right above my head here, right there, that's Nick Blankenberg. Nick played for, I believe, Romeo, and it might be in the article. He played high school hockey, and he played a few years of high school hockey. Nick also played for the Tier 1 elite programs. In fact, after he was done with high school hockey, he went back to Victory Honda and played 1 year of Victory Honda. He had no opportunities when he came out of high school, played Victory Honda, chose to go to the AJHL, okay, Alberta. He didn't go to the NAL. He didn't go to the USHL. He went up to Alberta, played up in Alberta, did very well, and then was picked up by Michigan, committed to Michigan. I believe he came out as a preferred walk-on or came on with a very limited scholarship when he started, somewhere in that range. But he was not, a premier player. Remember, Michigan's carrying, they set the record for the amount of NHL number one draft picks on one NCAA squad the year before last. This team is chock full of draft picks. So here's an undrafted player. He's playing in the NHL now. He signed an NHL contract. He actually finished up the year last year in the NHL. You can see him in his Columbus uniform. But there's a perfect example. Yeah, he played high school, okay? But that's like saying, 88% played mites or 85% played squirt AA before they went to college. Yeah, that is really not relevant to the high end where you went. He had to go and play at a higher level because Romeo wasn't a place that was a highly scouted area. You get into the tier ones, you get into the HPHLs, you get into those independent Detroit teams, 3 levels there, and we do talk about that with Jason Deskins about there being independent teams now, HPHL teams, tier 1 elites in that Detroit market. They're playing in front of once again, the guy behind the bench coaching you could be affiliated with a NAL team or affiliated with a USHL team. That's not happening as much as in the Detroit high school market. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some powerhouse Detroit teams. But if you read the statistics on Michigan, of those 156, only 34 played high school. Only 34. That's 11% or, 16%. So only 16% played. And it doesn't say they finished there or they committed there. It said they played there and still got a commitment. So there's a little bit of angling this to make it sound like you've got this vast array. They one player in this article played in Europe, and guess who that is? It happened to be the director of the ADM program. His son went and played in Europe, which baffles me. If you're a USA Hockey guy, you're employed by USA Hockey, why you choose that path. But hey, every path in my mind, everybody should have the opportunity to go whatever path they want to go. But here's the thing that you should really know. Those Division I commits, of those USHL and NAL players, that's where they got their commit, that number is 68%. 68% of those players came through there. And that's not including the 11 players that went to the National Development Program, which could be included in the USHL number. So you throw that 70% on, or actually 7% on. I sound like a president right now that always gets his numbers mixed up, but I won't talk about that. So what do we got? We've got 35. We've got 75% of the players are either USHL related or NAL related that get their D1 commits. Okay. Yes, you got 16% coming out of high school, and then the rest are sprinkled between a couple prep programs and very, very single-digit numbers on the rest. So of the 156, 104 plus the National Development Program, that's 111 out of 156 came through the NAL USHL in the National Development Program. Now here's the kicker. Even if their commitment was made in high school and they got their commitment there, guess where they went before they went to Division I hockey? Only a couple of these kids, both in Michigan and in Minnesota, have made a direct path. I don't believe anybody in Michigan during this study went direct. There's a couple in Minnesota that went direct, meaning they skipped juniors and went directly to play in NCAA hockey. It's very, very, very rare to see that. All roads lead back to juniors. Let me repeat that. All roads lead back to juniors. You can go to high school. You're going to play juniors. Now, once again, there's a couple exceptions in the Minnesota market. You can go to play prep. You're coming back to juniors. Whatever path you take, you're going to come back to juniors before you go play NCAA Division I. In most cases, NCAA Division III too. ACHA, you can make the jump right from high school and from U18 and go play ACHA at some of the different levels. Usually not the top level, but the 2 levels below that. So this information here, it's great. There's a lot of great information here. Michigan, 18U, 37% of the commitments in high school, 24 of high school hockey, 24% are both viable and proven routes. Yeah, but one route is 60% of the players. One route's 16%. So once again, if you're trying to get yourself in the position where the odds are in your favor, of course, if you're playing at one of the powerhouse programs, that he's always talking to college coaches and junior coaches, and you're a top team that's very exposed to the hockey world, meaning lots of junior scouts, lots of college coaches are always in the building watching you play. Yes, stay in high school. Enjoy the heck out of it. First of all, I think every kid should play a high school sport at some point. I'm not against high school at all, but I'm against thinking that it's an equal playing ground between high school and the U18 programs and the junior programs. It is not equal. Okay, it's nowhere near equal. There's a small percentage that move up, and they're coming from the powerhouse programs in general. Now, once somebody will make the comment to me tonight, well, my son played for Lapeer West High School in the thumb of Michigan, and he got a commitment. Of course, there's always going to be an outlier. But we're talking about mainstream. What path is the easiest path, and where's the direction to get you on that path right away? I'm all about being creative. I'm all about playing whatever sports you want to play. You want to play high school, play high school. I personally played high school in Michigan, but I transferred to a high school that I knew I had a better opportunity at to be visible and to be seen than playing for a school that had virtually no chance to win, let alone a chance for me to move up the ladder. So everybody's got their own path. I don't have any. This article right up here, I have no problem with anything this says. Okay, I just want you to make sure that you understand that when they say that there's lots of paths, they're not equal paths, and those paths aren't for everybody. Not everybody can go from Romeo to Victory Honda. There's only a few kids that can actually make that jump. Victory Honda is a powerful U18 team, and when Nick made the jump onto that team, that was of course they wanted him on the team. I'm not saying that, but there's 40 other kids that would like to be on that team in his spot. Not every kid can go play in the AJHL and succeed in the AJHL. He chose that path and it worked for him. So just looking at this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Minnesota numbers. The same thing. Now remember, this one's got Nick Blankenberg on here. We go over to the Minnesota report, and you see that that's Noah Cates is their example here. And on this one, it talks about in Minnesota high school hockey, it is the undisputed dominant route to NCAA Division I men's hockey. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. High school hockey in Minnesota is different than the rest of the nation. It is the place you go to play. The vast majority of Minnesota players travel the same path to college hockey. Absolutely. But let's back up a little bit on why that is. Minnesota builds the per capita amount of hockey players they have is astronomical to any other part. Even though Boston has good numbers, New York has good numbers, Minnesota obviously has good numbers, and I'm missing another state. So, New York, Boston, Minnesota. California's starting to creep up there, getting some good numbers as far as the amount of players out there. But let's just look at those three. The amount of people that live in Massachusetts, and I should say Mass because it's not really Boston, it's Mass, or Michigan or Minnesota. Mass has all the population. So their population of hockey players per capita is much, much lower than Minnesota. Minnesota's per capita is much higher. It allows them, since there's so many people playing hockey, it allows them to draw their travel team districts on the exact same line as their school districts. So if I grow up, I'm born in school district A, that's where I'm going to stay as long as I live in school district A. Okay, I'm going to play my youth, and I'm going to go into high school and play there, and then I'll make my move after that. And it's perfectly acceptable. And some of the reasons why these teams are so successful is you have the same group of kids that are playing together 8, 10, 12 years. And, some kids move in, some kids move out, some kids go play baseball. But you've still got this core that's a little bit different than we see anywhere else. The uniqueness of those kids staying within their geographical borders, it doesn't happen anywhere else. Now, some travel programs have geographic borders, but they don't follow school districts, and the school district teams aren't built on the same geographic borders. It does happen a little bit on club teams in some parts of the nation. Why is this important? It's important because this is one of the reasons why you see travel diminished in high school at a higher level, because they're not putting all-star teams together. They're not taking kids from all over the place and putting them on one team. Now, you'll see some Minnesota U15, U16, U18, maybe some of the younger ages. I don't really follow the younger ages that much. You see teams that are all-star teams for the first part of the year. You see this with prep kids in the East Coast. Minnesota teams, prep teams, they play, and in fact, even Michigan does a Maha team that's all the high school kids. So they'll play against the U18 teams, these Minnesota teams in some showcases. I will actually see a few of these Minnesota teams play this coming weekend up in Blaine, Minnesota, and the NAPHL showcase that's going on. Some of the Minnesota teams are invited teams that come in, and they're just kids that are playing high school, but before their high school season starts, they'll play on these pre-approved all-star teams. There's only a few of them. Minnesota's very regulated on that, and that's fine. So when you look at these numbers and they say, oh, Minnesota, well, its per capita player is much better than anywhere else, and everybody abides by the rules of staying within their districts. Now, Mighty Ducks, remember, a kid moved out of the district and they had to bring him back in, or the district changed or whatever it was. They had to bring the player back in, okay? That was a true story in some respects. So, not really. Average age of commitment is almost the exact same in Michigan, which is a U18 model for the most part, in Minnesota, which is a high school model, meaning you're going to play juniors before you get your commitment for the most part. Superstar players get their commitment earlier. The rest of the world is going to get the commitment a little bit later. It says that the national average is 19. That's great, but Michigan and Minnesota, they're a little bit quicker, and that's usually because of the concentrated amount of talent that's in that area. Only 5 committed players played full-time Tier 3 hockey. All 5 started for their Tier 3 junior hockey, or started their junior careers after completing high school. True story, 5 players. Now think about that. Only 5 played Tier 3. The reason why they did that may have been for other reasons than you think. Some of this is pandemic related, where there was only certain junior opportunities available when other leagues shut down. So don't read too much into that. It's not a normal path for somebody to play Tier 3 and then go to Division 1. So the vast majority of players in Minnesota earn Division 1 commitments between 18 and 19. That's a true story. Now you get down here, and this is the one that I thought was interesting. Okay, where committed players played during their high school senior year. There are kids that will go, if you get pulled up to the NHL and you're a high draft in the NHL, or excuse me, not the NHL, of course if you get the NHL, the USHL. If you can jump into the USHL or jump into the National Development Program, in both cases here, you're going to jump. Most people will jump. Now, I know I know a few USHL draft picks that don't even attempt to go when they were drafted, because unless it's a sure thing where they're going to be an impact player, they don't go out of Minnesota. So you look at this USHL 24 National Development Program. Of course, you'll jump at that opportunity, and then the NAL. Those numbers are still fairly low. We got less than 40, so as a percentage, not very high. There's not as much of a need to go to prep coming out of Minnesota. The kids that are going to prep, maybe they're just in a really weak district, and or the transition in coaching, light amount of good players. There could be a lot of reasons, but it's just not used very much. And the U18 model doesn't happen very much. And one kid playing NCAA hockey at the age of 18 means he was a stud. And I don't know who that is right off the top of my head. My only point at looking at this whole thing is absolutely heavily weighted into high school hockey, lower weighted into U18. It's the exact opposite of Michigan. Michigan heavily weighted on U18, light on high school. And then, of course, if you got the opportunity to go to USHL, North American Hockey League, or the NTDP, you'll go, usually if you know you're going to be an impact player. If you're scraping to get on a roster, what you'll see a lot of times in all these situations is a kid might go to a camp, NAL camp, go to a USHL camp, and be hanging on and decide to go back and play his senior year in high school, or decide if he's in Michigan to go back and play and finish up on his U18 team. We'll talk about that in a second too. So I hope this helped a little bit. I know I went through a lot of information quickly, and let me see first, we're going to see about any comments or questions on this, and then what we'll do is then we'll go back and answer some of the general questions that came across the board. So let's see here. Dave asked, being from Detroit and having a son in Tier 1 programs here, perfect night to join. I'm glad to hear that, Dave. Welcome aboard, and hopefully you get a lot of good information. And rely on the discussion group too. They're excellent. They can help you out too. This one says, and I don't know who this comes from, the average age of commitment, 18.6. So why does the NCAA punish 16 and 17-year-olds for trying to play juniors in the CHL? Wow, that's a good question. I think that this argument's coming closer to an end on the CHL argument because of the transfer portal rules changing, meaning players can move around more freely between college teams, and the name, image, and likeness deal. Basically now, Division I athletes are, for lack of better terms, are pro athletes. They're doing commercials on TV wearing their jerseys from their team. I just saw one with the Alabama quarterback. I saw another one with one of the Division I football players. These guys now, some of these guys are knocking down 6 and 7 figures now. I think the issue we have with the OHL is going to go away sooner than later. I think it's rapidly getting to the point where, since college players can literally be making more than an OHL player that's on an NHL contract on his bonus money or any kind of stipend that they're getting, it's kind of hard to take away that opportunity. So it's not so much that the NCAA punishes a player. Remember, a player can go to a camp. He can go try out for an OHL team. He can spend 48 hours there, no problem. Boom. Go there. As long as he doesn't play against another team and he only does inter-squad scrimmages, orange against blue and inter-team scrimmages, he's fine. He can stay with the team. He can travel with the team. They can play scrimmages within themselves, but as soon as that team does an exhibition game or a real game against somebody else, that would preclude them from being able to go to the NCAA without appealing it. And it looks like, now I don't stay on this daily. It's not an issue that I track daily, but the last few I've checked is the NCAA is starting to take away a year of eligibility if you step across that line. It used to be you just lost the whole opportunity to go NCAA, and now it looks like they're pulling some. And the way to look at this, and I wished I had time to do it tonight, I don't, is pull up the NCAA on Elite Prospects, pull up the whole NCAA, and just go up into your filter and put must have played in the CHL, and click that button, and you can see a list of all the kids. It's not a lot, but there's still a list of kids that have actually played in the CHL that are still able to get into the NCAA. And remember, too, you can stay more than 48 hours as long as you pick up all of your expenses afterwards. If they give you a hat, you got to pay for it. If they give you a meal, you got to pay for it. If you skate with a team in a practice, you've got to pay for that prorated amount of 48 hours. So hopefully that helps a little bit on that answer there. I know where this comes from. Okay, Odessa, good to see you guys on there. The greatest billet family in the world there. Alana, James, good to see that you're on. Dylan, do you follow Canadian junior hockey, primarily junior A? Absolutely. We cover the CJHL in a lot of detail. We spend a lot of time on the CJHL and, of course, the BCHL. Part of my job is we have a scouting staff, and I manage the scouting staff to make sure that they're covering the CJHL properly. I did not get up during the pandemic to watch as many games in Alberta, in British Columbia, but I'm still heavily watching from my area. I'm in Western New York. I get a chance to see CCHL, OJHL, Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. I might even pop into a little bit of a Gojo game a little bit. I do not get involved with the major juniors, and we don't get involved with the major juniors. So hopefully that helps there. Thank you so much for, we are looking for a route to take. I'm glad you Brooks on their roster. They do it right up there. Brooks isn't the only team, but they sure have set themselves higher than most in the, higher than anybody else in the AJ, but there's pocketed teams and leagues. And I could point out in the NCDC, you've got like the New Jersey Hitmen, the Boston Junior Bruins. The league may not be in a NAHL level or BCHL level or USHL level, but there's certain teams like Brooks, like the New Jersey Hitmen, they can play in any league. They're good enough to play anywhere, and they've been managed. They've got long-term people in there. They do it right, and it's good to see those teams and see how well they do. So, okay, let's jump into going back to some of the earlier questions. I'm following a couple different boards here of your comments, so let's just make sure I didn't miss anybody over here. And I'll go back to full screen on myself because you guys don't need to see. It'll screw you guys up if I'm there we go. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Okay, why do teams run main camps as a pure moneymaker? I would disagree with that statement, Brock. Main camps can be moneymakers. I know that our main camp, like I said, I work for a North American Hockey League team. We bring in our scouting staff. We bring in other people to speak to the teams. We've got a lot of hotel rooms going that time. We've got a lot of ice time going. A lot of meals are being brought in. It's not as I should say this. If you internalize the price and if you own your own rink and you take away the ice cost, yeah, it's a pure moneymaker. But most teams are allocating, like they should, the cost of the ice, even at a discounted rate, back to the team because the team is skating on that ice as an accounting function. There isn't as much money as you think in main camps. I'd be glad to break it down at some point. I've done it before in other videos where Tier 3 especially, I break it down and show you. But remember, if you want to have scouts out in watching players, any revenue that comes in from that is going back to keep people on the road. Pre-draft camps, main camps, yeah, are they there? Are they for profit? They sure are. But you know what? Every spring tournament you play in, every showcase you go is also a cost. I'm not sure why this is jams people up to think that, there's moneymakers. Of course they are. But it's USHL, BCHL, North American Hockey League Tier 3. It's the cost of doing business, and it's a way to, in most cases, fund the people that are scouting and bringing players into that program. So I really don't see it, and never had. As an owner, we always charge. You try to charge a reasonable amount. When I own teams as a general manager, as a coach, I've never seen it as a parent. My son had to go to showcases, AJHL, main camps, AJHL main camp, USHL main camp, North American League Hockey main camps, and there was always a fee incurred. Even as a drafted player, you still pay. Okay, so when people say that, yeah, and you can say, my kid didn't pay. Okay, fine. There's teams out there that do it differently, but that's not the main point here. The main point is most teams do it the same way. The vast majority are charging on that, and you pay a couple $100. Usually you get some good quality skates and you're getting evaluated, And if the program's doing it right, they're giving you some information and really taking a hard look at you. I met with every single kid coming out of our main camp. Every single kid. I should take that back. We at one point we split into different groups, but I was either sitting with the associate head coach or I was sitting with the head coach and met with every single kid coming through, and we walked him through what we saw from different people's perspective. And usually there was at least one or two other scouts in the room meeting with the players. Now, not every team does it that thoroughly, but there's also teams that give you video breakdown out of main camp where they give you all your video broken down and sent to your phone so you can see every shift. I know Dubuque has done that in the past. So moneymaker, maybe not. Why is it also a good piece? Remember, you've got a protected list you can have through the summer. You've now got your veterans, you've got your draft picks, you've got your tenders, and you've got free agents out there that just don't have a home. This allows you to get them all on the same ice and kind of get it down to a reasonable number going into fall training camp. Main camps actually are good for players that don't make the team. I would rather have 5 or 6 or 7 kids that don't make the fall roster that we have to try to find other homes for or have to cut and they have to go find their own home, versus if you brought all those players in at the same time in the fall, now there's 30 or 40 kids, maybe 50 kids, depending on how big your main camp is, that have got to go out and find homes. I just think it's a more efficient way of doing things. You can agree to disagree, but that's my opinion on it, Brock, and hopefully that gives you at least a different perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but that's the way I see the world on that. All right, let's go on. All right, here's one. Go Joe, go, or Go Joe, go Joe. I'm not sure what your pronunciation on that. It says, what does a protected list in the NAL mean, and how often does it change? Okay, so your season ends, you're given a summer protected list. Let's say we end of the year with our 25 players. We get our tenders, and let's start off. You have 25 players at the end of the year. Of those 25, let's say that all but 10 are graduating on. They age out. So I've got 10 players left. Formula that gets you up to the number 35, I think it is now. I'd have to go back and check my notes. What that is it's a combination of your tenders that you're given during the year and your returning players, and then the net of that number off of 35 is how many draft picks you get. So if I have 20 returning players and 10 tenders, I'm only drafting 5 players. That's the way it works. So the tender and the draft come together under that protected list. So you get your summer protected list. Then in the fall, you start trimming down, and there's a stair step down to the number 25, and that's the protected list you run through the season. So it comes down from the 30 range into the 20 range, and the protected list coming out of main camp is what kids are getting carried forward over to the fall before the number trims down again. Hopefully that helps. I've got videos out there on that, both on the tender and the draft, that also explain the protected list, and hopefully that helps a little bit. Brock, I see your comment. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. Hopefully, at least there's some points I made that you can at least consider when it comes to the main camps. Hi, Jeff. Okay, that was just a hi. Looking for questions again. Okay, here we go. Is there a rule about junior teams providing transportation? As an example, 2 hours way to play a game. I believe there is a rule. Clearly the higher levels, the BCHLs and the NALs, and the USHLs provide transportation for everything. Tier 3 gets a little different. I know there's first of all, the largest Tier 3 organization in the United States doesn't play under USA Hockey, so they can make up their own rules on that. So if you're playing USPHL Premier or Elite, I don't know what the rules. I can tell you my experience is, because some of them are so consolidated in that Boston market, you see a lot of teams that allow their players to drive to some of the 10 or 15 or 20 minute away, half-hour away rinks. And that's common. And sometimes the away rink is the same distance to their home rink for the players. So I can understand why that happens. Now, I do believe that there is I know there's a rule with USA Hockey. I just don't know what the actual shortest distance is or the minimum distance is. Usually it's your home market, and then anything away, you're supposed to have the players in provided transportation. So once again, since the USPHL plays by a different set of rules, I can't tell you what they're doing now. But that's easy to look up. I'll gladly look it up and I'll post it, but I don't have the actual diameter of how far around your home market is considered okay. Because there's some teams that there's 2 or 3 teams in the same geographic area, and USA Hockey's okay with players driving themselves. But I know if there's a perimeter once they get out of it. I'll look that up. I'll post it. I wished I had that off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I've had to answer that or to actually look into that. So it's been a while. See, when I owned junior teams in the Rochester, New York area, everything we did was east, and everything was a couple hours east. The closest in the EGHL days, or even in the NCDC days, was Syracuse, and after that it was Boston. So we were on a bus. Syracuse was still an hour and a half by bus, so that was a mandatory bus ride. We weren't letting players just drive that on their own. Okay. Let's see what else we got as far as questions. We had a lot coming in. How long we've been going here? We've been going 53 minutes. We're gonna start bringing her down, but I'm gonna give a couple more questions real quick. Decided against playing USPHL Elite and playing for the U18 team. Just finished up in Lowell, going 3-1. Do you know much about the program? Seems to be excellent. I can tell you this: I don't know anything bad about what the Skipjacks have got going on right now. It's like any other U18 program on the East Coast or in the Detroit market. There's a lot of change every year. Right now, though, I think you're in a good spot. I'm glad to hear you made a good move and you're enjoying it. That's really, really good to hear. So, Jacob Dallin, very good. Good to see you on. Let's see what else we got here. Apex, North Carolina. Good to see you're on. It looks like you're connected to that comment up there with the Skipjacks. Just running through these. Ossining, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Son's playing for Long Island Gulls. Good to see you there. Let's see what else we've got here, and then we'll call her quits if I don't have any comments that I can answer questions on. A lot of comments, but they're things we already picked apart a little bit. I don't want to I don't want to go backwards on any of this. All right, let's check the other board, see if there's anything. Well, very good, folks. I hope you enjoyed it tonight. Once again, a couple. Before we go, we've got a new feature coming up, and we just started collecting on this. I've mentioned it a few times, but I'm going to put a plug in for this. What makes this play great? And submit your 15 seconds or less video to us, and we'll pick some every week, and we're gonna break down what makes that play great. It can be a mite game, it can be a house game, it can be a girls game, it can be a pro clip that you took off of ESPN highlights. I don't care where you're getting your video or what the video is. And I'm not going to post anything that's embarrassing. I don't want to make anybody look bad, but we'll grab some video. We'll make some comments on it about what makes it great, and then we'll give it. If it's a goal, maybe we'll give it 4 Gretzkys, or we'll give it 3 Gretzkys. If it's a great hit, or if it's a great defensive play, maybe we'll give it a. Who defensively we're gonna go with? Are we gonna go with Bork, or are we gonna go with? Maybe we'll go with a Swedish defenseman. We'll pick out a good one. Maybe we'll go Konstantinov. Who knows? We'll find somebody. We'll give them 1 to 5 heads of Gretzky or Bork or somebody, and we'll actually put that together. So with that said, send us your clips. You can send those. You can DM those to me directly right off any of our sites. You can DM off of Junior Hockey Advisor discussion group. And please, please, please go on to our YouTube page and make sure you go to Junior Hockey Advisor, subscribe, start watching those videos, watch those interviews. We got awesome interviews going with people right now. They're separate from this, but they're incredible. There's lots of great information there, and we'll keep stocking those up. And I hope you're enjoying this. If you got feedback on what we can do to improve, please let us know. But jump on there. Give me that 15-second clip. It could be your kid. It could be somebody else's kid. But share the love. Give me the video. We'll make something out of it, or we'll pick some. We'll make some out of it, and we'll post those as shorts on YouTube and on Facebook. So With that said, folks, I had a blast tonight. Thank you so much for your participation. A consistent group all night long, and I hope you're gaining something from this. And have a great night. We'll see you. I'm leaving for Blaine. If you're up in Blaine, I'll be in Blaine from Wednesday through Saturday or Sunday. Make sure you stop by and see me up in Blaine. I'll be usually somewhere close to wherever the coffee's at. And come on up, say hi. Let's talk a little bit of hockey, and then let me get back to work. Please don't interrupt me if I'm actually involved in writing notes on a game. Grab me between periods or between games, and I'll be glad to talk to you. Love to talk to you. Love to meet you. Take care, folks. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.